Gilbert Burns came out today and he said, I want to fight in this order. They asked me, Gilbert, who do you want to fight? This would be my answer. Colby Covington. If he's not available, Wonderboy Thompson. If he's not available, Michael Chiesa. Now, before you think Gilbert Burns just called out Colby Covington, Wonderboy Thompson, and Michael Chiesa, the real message in this and the real way this should be interpreted is Gilbert Burns does not care who he's going to fight. That's what Gilbert Burns just said. I do not care. If you're willing to fight Colby, if you're willing to fight Wonderboy, Wonderboy's got a style, right? Colby's got a toughness like you're not going to have to deal with. Wonderboy's got a style that nobody else can bring in. Chiesa's on a roll. If you're willing to fight those three guys, the real message is I will fight anybody. But, boy, can we get something booked here? And there's just something about Gilbert remaining to be Gilbert that's very attractive. It's very refreshing. But let's look at his list. I don't know. I don't think that the Colby fight is off the table. That makes a level of... You have two top contenders who have a common opponent. I mean, the history of the sport and boxing, in fairness as well, the history of the sport does say if you have two top contenders and then those contenders meet up somewhere in for that fight, Gilbert versus Wonderboy does solve a problem, which is what do we do with Wonderboy? It's not just what do we do with Gilbert, what do we do with Wonderboy? And Wonderboy doesn't have a whole lot of options if we're showing any kind of respect to the integrity of the rankings. He's got one option to go fight Usman because he's the only top 5 guy who hasn't yet. Or he goes and fights a former number 1 contender and earns that top spot. I mean, right? There's not a whole lot of options for Wonderboy that aren't great options. Something good needs to happen. Stephen Thompson next. Okay. But then you have Michael Chiesa. And the more I sit back and I look at those three fights, Gilbert versus Colby, Gilbert versus Wonderboy, the more I like Michael Chiesa. I mean, that in many ways, when Michael's name came out of Gilbert's mouth, it was like, whoa, we might have a problem solved. And that is a very interesting fight. They fight very similar the same ways. Chiesa uses a little bit more reach. Okay, you guys understand all those things, but they both scramble like no one else scrambles. They both bring a pace. They both go all night long like very few guys can keep up with. That's an interesting match. It's very interesting. And as much as I'm telling you something good has to happen for Wonderboy, well, something good has to happen for Chiesa. Chiesa can't beat Magny in a main event on ESPN and not get something for it. And there's not a whole lot of places to go once you succeed in a main event. You have the right to return to another main event. If it's a loaded card, oh my goodness, maybe you're co-main for those guys. But you don't slide down the card for winning in a main event. You don't lose your position. Gilbert Burns versus Michael Chiesa. Think on that one. Think on that one. And then think it over. Because compare it to Gilbert versus Wonderboy, Gilbert versus Colby. I've never hated the idea of Colby versus Chiesa. Chiesa called him out. Okay, boom. Nobody else has called out Colby. Then what do you do with Wonderboy? I mean, right? You got to solve all the problems at once. But I think with those names, I think you could have some fun trying to solve that problem. And I would like your opinion. Are you with me? Of those matches, is there something that stands out about Chiesa and Gilbert?